What is up, IT friends? It is another spicy Monday. I am sick as a dog, so I'm going to try to power through this. But I wanted to make sure that I still yelled at you on a Monday, because who doesn't want to start off their week by being told they're wrong or stupid or whatever I'm going to yell at you about in this video? So, as some of you may know, I am a big fan of termed contracts. And a lot of that was because the MSP I came from sold a lot of hardware as a service, and that's just easier to do on a long-term contract. I think that most month-to-month contracts are bullshit and don't really incentivize anybody to do a great job. I know there's exceptions to everything. All of that said, I am not a fan of doing overtly predatory or non-competitive things in your contracts to force people to be your MSP client. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that today. So the other day, Alex Farling did a great Spicy Sunday post about don't just fire your client. And kind of going to this idea, you see it mostly on our MSP, of a client who isn't doing what you want them to do or isn't cooperating or isn't a good fit, that you need to fire them. And he had some really great points on why that's probably not a very healthy mindset to have as a business owner, and just in general, why you're reducing your ability to improve your MSP. And you should go check it out. Good post. So, keeping on that theme, that there are people that might not be a good fit for you, but just kind of giving up and kicking them out the door is the wrong decision. I would also argue that locking them in handcuffs probably also isn't the best decision. Something I've heard from some of my MSP friends, they've started seeing more often, is this idea of putting into an MSP contract language that will not just prohibit, but actually penalize the end client for having another technology provider interact with the network. And they don't really understand why you would want to do this. I know there's this fairly small percentage of small business owners that are just naturally going to be combative with their clients because that's their personality style. And I'm not excusing it. I'm just pointing out that I get that some of you are going to take an adversarial approach to business relations because that's how you do. Those people aside, why are otherwise normal MSPs putting in terms in their agreements that basically say, hey, if anyone else comes in here and touches this, you're going to get in trouble, client? I'm not really clear on why we'd want to do that. And some of my MSP friends that have come across this have also been unclear on why the other MSP did this because they've taken those clients because that's kind of a shitty value prop to have as your MSP. My very first MSP boss, Nathan, used to say something incredibly smart that became my mantra going forward. Once you go to court, everybody loses. And I do understand that an MSP agreement really is only as enforceable, or contract in general, it's really only as enforceable as either party's desire to enforce it. So I get that. And I get that you can put things in your agreement that you might not really have any intention of enforcing. During our M&A journey, there was an MSP that we integrated that wasn't big on having any sort of exit conditions in the agreement because they didn't want to give people the perception that they could leave and they wanted it to have to be a conversation. So I get it. There's some gamesmanship in any sort of a contract, but there's gamesmanship and then there's basically the contractual version of hanging truck testicles. All you're telling everybody is how small yours are and how scared you are by having an agreement that says if anyone else comes into your environment, you're going to be in trouble for doing it. Before you get on my case and say it's good security posture, well, no, it's not. Shut up. Of course it's not good security posture. I understand the argument, and it's a very lazy argument that you might be trying to make there. But that's like security through obscurity. That's basically saying, we're going to tell you it's illegal to have criminals, come into your store and rob it. So if you let any criminals rob your store, you're a bad store owner. Shame on you. Yeah, obviously, we're all aware of that already. That's not how we solve that problem. That's dumb. There are some people, though, that want to have this type of restrictive element in their agreement because they're trying to get forward this idea that you need to have any move add changes to your environment run through me since I am absorbing all your risk. And I can understand in the slightly more nuanced way there why the MSP or the MSSP might feel that they need to somehow protect themselves by having that language in their agreement. And I still think that's kind of a weak argument because if I'm not a security guy, I'll let a security guy talk on security controls. I'm not an expert there, and I don't want to talk about something that I'm not qualified to talk on. But my hunch is that's a pretty weak argument to say that you need to bar anyone else from touching this network because they might damage it. And that's why I've put this restrictive term in my agreement that I'm going to charge you a penalty. To be clear, I am all for being strategic. So if you want to go in to whatever your application whitelisting tool is and you want to blacklist every single RMM, remote management tool, rapid fire tools from running in the client environment, I am all for that. I think that's great. Like, say you have a policy, you certainly did it at my MSP, that all external vendor access had to be negotiated through us. Well, rather than putting that in the agreement and saying, if you don't do that, we're going to fine you, how about you just block a vendor from being able to self-roll their own remote connection tool so they de facto have to talk to you? Isn't that better? And if you want to set up an alert, if somebody pops into your client's site and runs rapid fire tools or block it outright, well, I mean, that's probably not a bad idea to block it. And if you really do have a security posture on this, isn't that really a better tack to take to prevent that potentially malicious tool from being run, period? Not putting it in the contract? I just think at the end of the day, when you have that type of terminology in your actual agreement, not every client's going to read every agreement, and I understand that, but you're setting yourself up to be adversarial from the beginning. And to bring it back to Alex's post, you're pretty much setting up a tone where it's my way or the highway. And sure, from an operations standpoint, which is my world, I love that. I love that. It is Dean's way or the highway. You abide by our operational policy or just get out. I love that. But realistically, is that really the best tone to be setting with your client? And considering that for most of our clients, the first major thing we have them do is read through and sign an agreement with us, is that really the best language to have in an agreement? I don't actually know. Maybe it is. And maybe people who are smarter than me can comment on this and chime in with why it's actually a really good idea to have this kind of language in your agreement. But it pisses me off, and I wanted to yell at you about it today on the Spicy Monday.